In this instructional video, we will explore all Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 International Kiteboarding Organization (IKO) topics required to becoming a self-sufficient and certified rider. This will prepare you for your first kiteboarding experiences. Thoroughly understanding all topics before going out on the water by yourself is important for your safety and enjoyment. Note: the human body has trouble thinking clearly when experiencing the power of the kite for the first times. Therefore, understanding how to use your safety systems before your lesson will ensure your safety on the water.
Aerial kiteboarding was established in 2010 in Winnipeg, Manitoba. After 2 successful winter seasons, Aerial Kiteboarding established a summer destination school in Squamish, British Columbia. In constant search for year-round wind, Aerial Kiteboarding is now offering kiteboarding destination camps in South Padre Island, Texas, La Ventana, Mexico, and Barbados. Aerial Kiteboarding continues to offer outstanding lessons and service throughout the year in all locations. Daniel Grains, the founder of Aerial Kiteboarding, has been a passionate kiteboarder since 2005. As of the age of 2 months, Daniel was regularly introduced to the water and wind through his family sailboat trips. As he grew older, Daniel would never turn down a chance to get in the water. Through his university studies, he found a way to get his hands on some kites and begin his exploration into kiteboarding. By speaking to kiters on the beach and trying to figure things out on his own, Daniel learned to kite in the beaches of Toronto, Canada. Along with a few bumps and bruises, Daniel has turned into quite the accomplished rider. After completing university, Daniel set out to travel North America in order to obtain his International Kiteboarding Organization certification and begin his life as a kiteboarding instructor. After just a few short months teaching in various locations, Daniel already had aerial kiteboarding in mind. He is now a Level 2 senior IKO instructor and the owner of Aerial Kiteboarding, which runs 2 successful Canadian teaching locations as well as kiteboarding camps abroad. Prior to your lesson, we recommend that you watch this video or selected parts multiple times in order to become comfortable and confident with its content. You will be learning many things throughout your first lesson, and having studied this video thoroughly, you will end up having a more enjoyable and successful time on the water. All topics covered in this video are part of the International Kiteboarding Organization's lesson plan and are crucial to becoming an independent kiteboarder. Kiteboarding equipment. First, let's check out the gear that is necessary for kiteboarding: a kite, bar and lines, a harness, and of course a board. We are also going to need a pump for setting up and recommend that beginners or people riding in shallow water use a helmet. In kiteboarding, riders can use multiple different styles of boards, but the most common is a bidirectional board such as this one. Let's figure out how to select a good kite spot with our area assessment and awareness. The rudiments of kiting safely are assessing your location and the wind. As these last are forever changing, when you are in the water, it is important to properly and thoroughly assess them prior to getting into the water and throughout your session. As kiteboarding is a wind-dependent sport, let's begin by assessing the wind. When assessing the wind, there are 3 things you need to analyze: the wind direction, speed, and consistency. The direction can be determined by facing into the wind and feeling equal wind pressure on both ears. Other indicators of assistance are flags, trees, shrubs, and loose sand, soil, or snow. Determining the exact wind direction is important to your safety. We will learn why shortly. The wind speed is important for kite size selection. Kite size is dependent not only on wind speed, but also weight and skill level. Generally, the stronger the wind, the smaller the kite. In order to kite successfully, we do require a minimum of 20 to 25 kilometers an hour or 12 to 15 miles per hour of wind. Prior to leaving your home, you should check a reliable wind reading for your chosen location. This will help you have a general idea of what to expect. Once on location, you can use a windometer to assess the wind or other indicators such as whitecaps and flags. Let's use a flag as an example in assessing the wind speed. With a medium-sized flag, you will be able to easily assess all wind topics. The direction will be clear and the speed can easily be determined. When the entire flag is pointing down, the wind is 20 to 25 kilometers an hour. When the entire flag is straight, the wind is 25 to 35 kilometers an hour. When the tip of the flag is consistently pointing up, the wind is closer to 40 kilometers an hour or more. Most kiters have two kites with which they are able to access 80 or more % of the winds in their kiting area. This is, of course, dependent on where you live and what kind of winds are present in your area: thermal, frontal, trade. Finally, selecting your kite size is also dependent on a person's kite skills. When assessing wind consistency, we need to determine the consistency in both direction and speed of the wind. A more experienced rider can do this through feel. However, it can easily be done by watching the flag for a few minutes and making note of its behavior. If the wind is often changing direction or speed, it can cause an added difficulty and even danger on the water. The wind consistency can also be affected by upwind obstacles such as vehicles, mountains, trees, and even large boats. Behind an obstacle, the wind could be not apparent and/or unusual. While assessing upwind obstacles, it is important to note that it takes approximately 7 times the distance of the height of the obstacle downwind for the wind to clean up. After assessing the wind, it is now time to assess our location. It is always important for the wind to be blowing you back to the beach for your own safety. Now that we have assessed the wind direction, we can see if the beach you have selected is appropriate. Side shore and side on shore are the best and safest wind conditions, as not only does the wind consistently bring you back to the beach, you are also able to ride away from the beach to open water quite easily. On shore, while also being safe, might be more challenging to ride away from the beach as upwind riding would be necessary. Assessing the obstacles that you might encounter while on the beach or on the water is important to do prior to launching your kite. Problems may compound and occur rather quickly. By properly assessing your location, you will help ensure your safety. Now that we have assessed our location and the wind, we are ready to set up our gear. We will begin by setting up our kite. Pull the kite out of the bag and lay it on the ground downwind of your position. Place sandbags or sand on the kite to secure it. Before pumping up your kite, let's take a look at the anatomy of it. The long inflated edge that runs from one tip to the next is called the leading edge. This edge will always be facing the direction the kite is flying. You will see a bit later how watching the leading edge will help you anticipate the kite's movement and thus help you control the power. The back edge of the kite is called the trailing edge. These are your wingtips. And finally, these inflated sections are your struts or ribs of your kite. The entire kite is made up of a variety of ripstop dacron, which we call the canopy. This is very sensitive material and should be handled with care. Make sure not to lay your kite on anything sharp, stand on it, or do anything that could damage your kite. It is also your responsibility as a kiter to consistently pay attention to the condition of your equipment. A small hole can easily be repaired on the beach, but if the hole goes unnoticed, it can cause much bigger problems on the water and higher repair costs. Before inflating your kite, you need to be aware of whether your kite has either a one-pump or multi-pump system. This can easily be determined by looking closely for a connector between the leading edge and each strut. If there is a way for the air to travel from these two areas, you have a one-pump system and can pump up the entire kite at the inflate point near the center of the kite. If you do not see any connectors, you will notice a small inflate valve on each strut as well as in the center of the leading edge. With multi-pump systems, struts are inflated first and leading edge is last.
Inflating your kite.
Attached to your pump is a pump leash. Make sure to secure your pump leash to the kite or the kite will fly away as it gets inflated. After attaching your pump leash, close your deflate valve and secure it with the surrounding Velcro. Begin inflating your kite to the suggested PSI rating, which is usually 6 to 8 PSI, depending on the size of your kite. A more experienced rider will be able to tell if the kite is properly inflated through feel. Once the kite is inflated, close and secure the inflate valve properly, as large impacts might cause the valve to open on the water. A properly closed and secure inflate valve will look like this.
Finally, if your kite has a one-pump system, you will need to close off all strut connectors. This will close off the airflow from the leading edge to the struts, important for safety while on the water.
When managing our kite on the beach, we can hold it in this smiley face position. At all times, make sure the center of the kite is always pointing into the wind. This will allow you to move freely around the beach without dragging the kite. When securing the kite on the beach, we will flip it over into the beach safe position. With one hand over and one hand under the leading edge, turn the kite so that one wingtip touches the ground. Begin walking forward to allow the kite to turn over without rubbing the wingtip on the ground. Once the kite is turned over, place the leading edge on the ground and secure the kite with a sandbag or safe weight. There are 4 attachment points to most kites. Some have 5. Before going any further, we need to ensure that all attachment points are not tangled. There are 2 points at the wingtips that are color coordinated and 2 that come off the leading edge of the kite, which we call bridles. In order to make sure they are not tangled, hold the connection point and note that all connections on the bridle are in a Y shape. If the line connections on the bridle are making a W shape, the bridle is still tangled. Now we are ready to walk out our lines. As lines do take a lot of space on the beach, following the angle of other kiters' lines will prevent any overlapping or tangling. Lay the end of the lines next to the kite and unwind them while walking away from the kite. Make note, lines are always wrapped in a figure 8 pattern to prevent tangle. You will notice that there are 2 colors on the bar. Place the bar down accordingly so that the colors match the attachment points on the wingtips.
Separating your lines.
Place your feet inside the lines in order to ensure that the outside lines, the steering lines, are on the outside of your legs and the two center lines, the power lines, are in between your legs. Now walk towards your kite. By placing your body inside the lines, you will see how your body separates the lines for you. When at the end of the lines, pull the tangles out and place the lines down in order next to the attachment points of the kite. The two center lines do not need to be separated.
Connecting the lines to the kite.
Notice that there are male to female adapters from steering to power lines to help ensure you do not connect your lines incorrectly. To connect the lines to the kite, use a lark's head knot. Take the line end with the loop, slide the line through the loop, place it over the connection knot, and fasten. Make sure that the knot point selected is equal on both sides.
Now let's put our harness on. There are two main types of harnesses, a waist harness such as this one, and a seat harness that has two leg straps and wraps around your waist and butt. As far as which harness is best, it is simply based on personal preference. When putting on your harness, you will first put the large area around your back and secure the harness on your waist with the Velcro. Next, you will pull the spreader bar over your stomach and check that the harness is on correctly by ensuring that the harness hook is facing down. Connect the side strap and tighten. A harness needs to be quite tight, so if required, feel free to ask someone for help. Every harness should be equipped with a kite leash. This leash will be both attached to your harness as well as the kite. Every leash has a carabiner on one end and, most importantly, an eject system on the other. The eject system stays always attached closest to you, which will be on your harness, where the other end hooks up to the kite. It is industry standard that all eject systems are activated by pushing away. In order to activate your leash eject, grab the red eject and push away. Now, let's take a look at the parts of the bar and their functions. The leash that is hooked up to your harness is the first thing to connect when kiteboarding. This will attach to your leash attachment ring, most commonly found around the harness loop. The leash attachment point is attached to a line that, when activated, kills the power of the kite through one line tension. This is the harness loop, also called the chicken loop. This is how we connect the bar to the harness. Along with the harness loop, there is a retainer pin. This pin, when installed properly, will prevent the harness loop from coming undone while kiting. In order to attach the bar, place the harness loop under your harness hook and secure by putting the retainer pin under the plastic but over the metal of the harness hook. Just above the harness loop is your harness loop eject. This is another eject system that is activated by pushing away and is often distinguished by a red color. We'll take a look at when to use these safety systems shortly. Next, we have the bar. Our bar has two colors to it, often red and another color such as black, white, or blue. When flying your kite, you must ensure to always have red on your left, an overhand grip, and hands close together. Having your hands close together will minimize accidental kite movement, thus power, while flying the kite.
Proper steering techniques.
Steering the kite is similar to steering a bicycle rather than a car. To steer the kite to the left, Your left hand will come towards your belly button while the right hand pushes away. Of course, the opposite is done when steering to the right. Spinning the bar like a car will not steer the kite. You can see how when doing so, our steering lines are not at all affected. As long as you are steering the kite like a bicycle and have red in your left, you will be able to control and properly steer your kite regardless of if the lines are twisted. In addition to steering, the bar can also be pushed away from you and pulled towards you. In general, when pushing out the bar, you will be reducing the power of the kite. Pulling in the bar will increase the power of the kite. Often, when flying the kite, the bar should be out, unless you are looking at generating power for kiting. Finally, we do have our depower strap. This can be found either above the bar or below the bar. This strap is used to adjust the overall power of the kite when kiteboarding. In order to depower the kite, the depower strap will be pulled in, thus shortening the length of the center lines. Trimming your kite to the proper power steering is important to successful and easy riding. This can be done by flying the kite directly above your head and ensuring that there is a slight flutter in the canopy of the kite. If there isn't a flutter in the kite, continue to further depower until you see the flutter. When pulling in your depower strap too much, you will lose steering in your kite. Though kites can be adjusted to many different wind ranges, at a certain point, performance is lost. Therefore, proper kite size selection is important. Let's learn how to use our safety systems. When flying the kite and power becomes overwhelming, and more importantly, you are feeling uncomfortable or in danger, our first line of defense is to let go of the bar. By letting go of the bar will shoot out into its furthest position, depowering the kite as much as possible. After letting go of the bar, we will reassess our situation and either continue using our next level of eject or re-engage your kite by grasping the bar and steering the kite. In the circumstance that the power is still overwhelming, you are uncomfortable and perhaps in danger, you will grasp your harness loop eject and push it away from you. When doing so, you will activate the one-line safety system of your kite. The kite should then completely lose all its power and gently fall out of the sky. In the rare circumstance that the safety system does not work due to a tangled line, there is always an option to ditch your kite completely with your leash eject. However, when using the final eject, you will no longer be attached to your kite and risk losing your kite. As a result, this eject system is only to be used in a do or die emergency. Often, experienced riders will try and manage the tangled lines before making the decision to use their final leash eject. Kite recovery. Kite recovery is a skill where one reconnects the harness loop to continue flying the kite after engaging the eject system. While the skill may seem easy on land, it can be very challenging while in the water. It is imperative that one thoroughly familiarizes themselves with kite recovery on land prior to entering the water independently. Once you have hit your harness loop eject, take the safety line that is attached to your leash, the only line with tension, and pull the line hand over hand towards you. Once you can reach your harness loop, secure the leash line on your harness hook and hold the line firmly in one hand. With the other hand,
begin reassembling your harness loop. In order to do so, pull the harness loop eject back, place the ring of the harness loop through the pin on the eject system, and allow the system to re-engage by letting go of the red lever. Without letting go of the safety line, unwrap it from your harness hook and continue to hold it firmly. Hook the harness loop into your harness hook and do one final check of your equipment before letting go of the safety line. Once you are ready to fly the kite, let go of the safety line, the kite will drift downwind and regain its proper shape. Relaunch the kite and continue flying it. Make note, do not at any time wrap any lines around your fingers, hands, or arms for extra grip. This can be extremely dangerous and can lead to personal harm. Self-rescue. Self-rescue is accomplished by packing down your gear on the water in order to safely get back to land. One may self-rescue for many reasons, such as loss of your board, damage or broken kite or lines, rapidly changing wind conditions, or any other circumstance that causes you to not be able to ride back to your launch point. To self-rescue, activate your safety line by using your harness loop eject. Next, pull the safety line hand over hand towards you until you can reach your bar, ensuring that there is only one line tension at this time. If there is tension on any other lines, secure one power line to achieve one line tension. If you are not in danger, you may choose to wrap your safety lines in a figure 8 pattern on the bar and secure it with a half hitch. Now that you have secured the one line tension safety system, begin wrapping all other lines in a figure 8 pattern on the bar. Note, other lines will not have tension and therefore might make it difficult to ensure you are wrapping all 4 lines around the bar. Without proper technique, wrapping the lines around the bar may be difficult, especially in strong winds. Using the bar for leverage and pivoting the bar ends back and forth towards the kite will help with this last. Once you reach the kite, secure your lines with this half hitch and grab the kite. At this point, you can use the flotation of the kite to help you swim to shore, or even use the canopy of the kite as a sail to help you sail back to shore. Most importantly, do not deflate your kite, as it is your best tool to be noticed on the water. Let's learn about the flying characteristics of your kite. The wind window is a term that we use to describe where the kite can fly relative to the wind. In order to assess where your wind window is located, put your back directly into the wind and extend your arms out 90 degrees to the wind direction. Where your hands are is the edge of the wind window, where the kite has the least amount of power. The edge of the wind window extends from the ground all the way up to above your head along the 90 degrees angle. Characteristically, the kite always wants to fly at the edge of the wind window. The kite can also pass through the areas directly in front of you. This area is called the power zone. Make note, the kite cannot fly behind you. In the rare circumstance that the kite does end up behind you, it will immediately fall from the sky. Throughout your lesson, your instructor will use a clock terminology to describe the different points along the edge of the wind window. 9 and 3 o'clock will be where the kite meets the ground or the water on your right and left sides. 12 o'clock is above your head. Other positions such as 10, 11, 1, and 2 o'clock can be determined accordingly. To keep the kite at the edge of the wind window, slow and small steering movements are required.
When aggressively steering the kite left and right, it will cause the kite to drive through the power zone. This type of steering is used to generate power for riding and should be avoided when on land. Finally, in order to fly the kite, it must first be launched. In kiteboarding, we often use an assistant to launch the kite. Prior to assist in launching or landing a kite, you must be familiar with the international communication signals. Thumbs up for launching and clearly tapping your head for landing. The assistant's job is to simply hold the kite in a C-shaped position while the inside canopy faces the rider and watch for the launching signal. When the thumbs up is given, you simply let go of the kite. Failed launches are the most common causes for injuries. The first step to a safe launch is to ensure the kite is exactly at the edge of the wind window where the kite has the least amount of power. With the aid of an assistant, this can be done by properly hooking into your bar and positioning yourself slightly downwind of the kite. While ensuring that there is tension on both center lines, you should notice the kite's canopy fluttering. This is an indication that the kite is outside of the wind window and cannot fly. Next, slowly walk into the wind while ensuring there is always tension on both center lines. At the first moment the entire canopy stops fluttering, you and your kite are properly positioned. Indicate a thumbs up launching signal and gently and slowly steer your kite up to 12 o'clock. Note, if the kite is steering too quickly, power will be generated. Following are the skills that you will need to master on the water prior to getting up on the board. Basic piloting. When first piloting your kite, it is important to develop kite control. This can be done by flying your kite in one position and holding it there. As wind and gravity will affect the flight of your kite, in order to hold it in one consistent position, you will need to constantly be making small adjustments with the bar. Flying the kite at the 11, 12, and 1 o'clock position steadily is the best way to gain control. When you have succeeded, an added challenge would be to hold the kite at 10 or 2 o'clock and even lower at 9 or 3 o'clock position, which can be more difficult as gravity plays a bigger role in the flight patterns of the kite. When moving your kite from one position to the next, make sure to move the kite slowly so it does not generate too much power through its motion. Once you have mastered this skill, you will then practice it with only one hand on the bar. When the kite is on the left side of the wind window, pilot it with your right hand and vice versa. At 12 o'clock, either hand can be used. Finally, a well-skilled pilot can fly the kite in all positions with one hand only, through the feel of the bar, piloting it without even looking at the kite. Body dragging. Downwind body dragging is done by lying flat on your stomach in the water and flying the kite with two hands. In order to be pulled to the left, you will place the kite at 11 o'clock. When turning around, you will slowly raise the kite to 12 and finally bring it back down to 1 o'clock to move to the right. Upwind body dragging to the left is done by laying on your side in the water with your left arm out, acting as a keel approximately 30 degrees from the pull of the kite, and flying the kite at 11 o'clock with your right hand only. While ensuring that your entire body follows along the angle of your left arm, you must hold your position firmly to keep the kite as steady as possible. When changing direction, you will very slowly steer the kite up to 12 o'clock with your right hand, holding your body position. The moment the kite crosses 12 o'clock, quickly switch your position to the right and steer your kite to 1 o'clock with your left hand. At this point, your right hand will be out 30 degrees from the kite and your body will follow. Note, your board is not tethered to you or bound to your feet. Mastering upwind body dragging techniques will allow you to retrieve your board, as well as allow you to safely maneuver yourself back to the beach when unable to ride for any reason. Relaunching. While in the water, the kite may crash. Quickly relaunching the kite is an important skill to master, especially for board recovery. Aside from getting pulled towards obstacles, the longer it takes to relaunch the kite, the further you will drift downwind. There are three main positions you will see your kite situated on the water. Most common is leading edge down. Pull on one of the steering lines and the kite will begin to taxi to the edge of the wind window. As the leading edge approaches a 90 degrees position to the water, start to release tension. The kite is now in its second most common position, the C shape. Similar to the finesse of launching the kite on land, gently pull on the upper steering line and the kite will begin to rise. When putting too much tension on the steering line, the kite will then fall on its trailing edge back into the water. This is the third position you may see your kite on the water. Firmly pull on your center lines and perhaps even swim into the wind to create additional tension on the center lines. This should pop your kite back into the leading edge down position. Next, follow the steps previously mentioned to relaunch your kite. However, this time, when the kite is in its C-shaped position on the water, gently pull on the steering line and ensure that the leading edge doesn't breach more than 91 degrees in relation to the water. Advanced piloting. Power strokes. A figure 8 power stroke is used to generate power for both getting up on the board and maintaining top speed while riding. In order to accomplish a proper figure 8 power stroke, start your kite at 12 o'clock, steer it down to 10 o'clock, and immediately back up to 12. While continuing this motion fluidly, you should feel a consistent pull from the kite. In order to generate more power, the figure 8 power stroke can be done with the bar pulled in when steering. Make note, when practicing your figure 8 power stroke, make sure the kite never passes the 12 o'clock position, thus staying on one side of the wind window. This last will greatly help you when you are ready to ride. Getting the board on your feet. Before going out with your board, make sure the straps are properly adjusted for your feet. When in the water, place the kite at 12 o'clock and hold it there with one hand. With the other hand, grab onto one of the foot straps to hold onto the board. While always keeping the board at a T with the lines of your kite, place your feet into the foot straps of the board. Once the board is secure, you can continue flying the kite with two hands, ensuring that you keep your body square to the kite. If you begin to twist around, use your hands to paddle in order to keep your body square to the pull of the kite. Make note, the steadier you keep the kite at 12 o'clock, the easier it will be to place the board on your feet. If you are unable to keep the kite steady, it may begin pulling you in many different directions, thus making it very difficult to keep the board in position. If you are unable to get the board on your feet while the kite is flying above you, more one-hand piloting skills are required. In this case, a quick cheat technique to get the board on your feet will be to lay the kite on the water along the edge of the wind window, let go of the bar, and get the board on your feet. Once the board is secure, grab the bar and relaunch your kite. Getting up on the board. Board starts. With the board on your feet in front of you and your kite at 12 o'clock, pull in the bar and send your kite down towards the water, similar to the figure 8 power stroke. As you feel the pull of the kite, point your front foot downwind, roll up on your board, turn your front hip towards the kite, and countersteer. Countersteering at this exact moment will help you to not generate too much power, thus ejecting you off your board. Stand up, lean back, and edge by putting pressure on your heels. If you do not feel enough power to continue riding, continue your figure 8 power strokes until top riding speed is obtained. Once you have obtained top riding speed, park your kite at 11 when you're going left and 1 o'clock when going right, and begin leaning back, putting your weight onto your back foot. Riding upwind. The key to riding upwind is finding the balance between edging on your board, pushing in and out the bar, and leaning back while maintaining continuous top riding speed. Thank you for watching our video. This video covered all Level 1, 2, and 3 International Kiteboarding Organization certification topics necessary to being a self-sufficient and independent kiteboarder. All information covered in this video is extremely important to kiteboarding and everyone's safety. Make sure to familiarize yourself with all sections prior to going kiteboarding. Visit aerialkiteboarding.com for any additional information on kiteboarding and our services. See you on the water soon.